Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We come to the concluding part of the 13th chapter, which is Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Clearly, as we have been seeing, the most difficult part of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The promise is that if you have understood, you get moksha. If you have not understood, you will still get Swarga, because this is the highest level of Punya. We have the concluding verses are also very, very profound. Profound in the sense that there is no new topic that comes here, but there is a lot of understanding of Vedanta that you need to have to be able to understand these verses. Vinayakan, verse 27, please.
Sri Gurubhyo Namah. 27th verse goes like this. Yavat samjayade kinjit sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetrajna samyogat tadvidhi varadashava. The literal meaning is like this. Whatever being, moving or stationary is born, know that to be out of the union of Kshetram and Kshetrajna, O Arjuna. So, word by word meaning, Yavat Kinchit, whatever being, Sattvam Sthavara Jangamam, moving or stationary, Samjayade is born, Vidhi, no, Tat, that to be, Kshetra Kshetratna Samyogat, out of the union of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, Bharadashva, O Arjuna. So, Krishna explains in verse 25 and 26, Lord Krishna pointed out that everybody has to go through all the stages of sadhana, and also he said that all the sadhanas should culminate in Atmajnanam. The purification of the mind through Karma Yoga can be accomplished through different types of activities like japa, puja, or social service, etc. But everybody ultimately has to go through the door of Jnana. This Krishna mentioned in the previous two verses. Then the question will come, why do we insist on Jnana? Krishna says, because something is caused by ignorance and error. So what is ignorance and error? I am the Purusha. This fact I am ignorant. Purusha means that Nirguna Nirvikara Chetan Tattvam. Purna Purusha Aham. This fact I am ignorant of. This is called the ignorance problem. This ignorance has led to an error. Since I do not know I am the Purusha, I have chosen to identify myself with Prakriti, that is body identification. When I do not know I am Atma, I mistake myself to be Anatma. This is happening in dream also. When I forget this body of mine during sleep, the ignorance of this body leads to identification with dream body. And when I wake up to the physical body, automatically I decided to disidentify from the dream body. And therefore, Purusha Ajnanam has led to Prakriti Abhimanam. Or Kshetrajna Ajnanam leads to Kshetra Abhimanam. Or Atma Ajnanam leads to Anatma Abhimanam. Means self-ignorance has led to body identification. Therefore, Krishna says, Kshetra Kshetratna Samyogat. Samyoga means Abhimana, I identification. Identification of I, the Kshetratna on the body, Kshetram. I miss the Purusha and take the Prakriti as myself. This is called Kshetra Kshetratna Samyoga. And because of Deha Abhimana, there are two problems. One is I, the immortal Purusha, mistake myself to be the mortal body. Leads to Apurnatam. Then Apurnatam leads to Kama, Kama leads to Karma, then Punya, Papa, Sukha, Dukkha, Punarjanma, then cycle of birth and death. All this due to Deha Abhimana. And therefore Krishna says, Yavat Sattvam Samjayate. Every living being is born, goes through the cycle of birth and death. Sthavara Jangama. Whatever it is, non-moving, living beings, I mean plants or animals, all these go through Jayate, birth and death. Only because of fundamental mistake, I am the body mistake. Iti Vidhi, Arjuna, you understand? And this body identification is a mistake, and every mistake born of ignorance. Therefore, Jnanam destroys Ajnanam. And and destroys error or adhyasa. Therefore, jnatva eva moksha. So, in a nutshell, this individual is a mixture of Prakriti and Purusha, or Brahman and Maya. So, every living beings, it's plants or animal, these are a mixture of both Prakriti and Purusha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vinayakan, for a nice explanation. Another beautiful verse. The problem is when we are a combination of both, we are born with the most essential ignorance that I am. When you are a combination of Prakriti and Purusha, and because we are born with the ignorance that I am also Purusha, I think I am only the Prakriti part and I have ignorance about my true nature. When I have ignorance about my true nature because of the Maya Shakti which covers my true nature, I have a Vikshepa, a sense of identification with this body, and that is the cause of all samsara. Then you have the whole trail of samsara which comes from the verse called avidya kama karma. Then rest of the verses will come somewhere a little later about this problem of avidya kama karma. I do not know my true nature. I believe that if I do something, then I can get purnatvam. And then karma produces punya, papa, and that cycle goes on and on. We go to the next verse. The next verse, Dr. Anupama, if you can please explain this verse. Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, go ahead.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 28. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsu avinashyantam yaha pashyati sa pashyati. This verse tells us about the right perception of the world, samyak darshanam. The word meaning, saha yaha pashyati parameshwaram. He who sees the Supreme Lord, tishtantam samam sarveshu bhuteshu, who dwells alike in all the beings. Vinashyantam vinashyatsu, who is imperishable among all the perishables. Sa pashyati, he alone really sees. Now, what does he see? This universe is a mixture of Prakriti and Purusha because it is born out of these two. Getting entangled in the Vyavaharika Prapancha, we lose sight of the Purusha and identify with the Prakriti. This Prakriti being tangible, Saguna, Savikara, Achetana, the Mithya Tattvam, we drown in samsara. With a clear understanding of Kshetram and Kshetrajna, that is, Atma Anatma Viveka, we could understand the relevance of Purusha, the Nirguna, Nirvikara, Satya, Chetana Tattvam. Not losing sight of this Purusha Tattvam in and through all our transactions is called Atma Nishta or Sahaja Samadhi. In this vast and diverse combination of physical, emotional, intellectual, the various body-mind complexes of all the living beings, by displacing Anatma Darshanam with Atma Darshanam, we could remain anchored in the one and only imperishable Sat Chit Atma. Here, Krishna says, Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram Atmanam Yaha Pashyati. Such a person is called a seer, a Pandita. In chapter 5, verse 8, Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. For one who has Paravidya or Atma Jnana, whether he interacts with a Guna Brahmana representing extreme Sattva Guna, or at the other end of the spectrum, a Shvapake, a dog meat eater representing extreme cruelty, Tamoguna, all gunas being attributes and hence mithya, the Panditas through Paramarthika Drishti have Samadarshana, that is Guna Atita Atma Darshana. Now, What is the benefit of this Samadarshana? I see the Atma as my essential nature. I take myself to be Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarupa. Also, I look upon you and all the beings as Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Swarupa, or Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for taking this verse in extreme short notice and giving us a nice explanation. Atma Vidya, once it becomes a Nishta, you realize the Purnatvam, Nitya Shuddha, Buddha Mukta in not only in yourself, you see that in everybody. And this is not only during the class, even after class, not only in your home, even when you go outside. That we need to have, and this is the vision of a Jnani, the vision of a Samadarshana. So when spiritual wisdom dawns, the transformation is not only the way you see yourself, but you see the whole world also. You see the golden Buddha. To be able to discover the golden Buddha, once you discover the golden Buddha in you, you discover it in everybody around. We go to the next verse, Lakshmi, verse 29, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 29. Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitamishwaram na hinastyatmana atmanam tato yati param gatim. In this verse, meaning for uniformly seeing the Lord who dwells everywhere alike, he does not ruin by himself. Thereby he attains the supreme goal. In this verse, Krishna gives the second benefit of this knowledge, which is Amrita Tattva Prapti. Transcending mortality or immortality is the second benefit. Swamiji talks about the prayer Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Here, Ma means me. Please take me from untruth to truth, from dark to light, from mortality to immortality. From this prayer, Amrita Tattva Prapti is the benefit he gives. So coming to the verse, Samam Pashyan means Samadarshanam. A wise person should have Samadarshanam, in and through Vishamadarsanam. Vishamadarsanam is required for transaction. So, but behind this Samam Pashyan Sarvatra, Sarvatra means in and through all transaction. Pashyan, Shravanam, Sparshan, Jinhan, we require Samadarshanam. If we lose the sight of Samadarshanam, Prakriti will frighten you. So Swamiji gives an example. In a movie, the moment we lose the sight of the screen, the characters become more real and the movie will frighten you. Similarly, the moment Purusha is lost sight, Prakriti becomes a nightmare. Therefore, in all the states and in all the conditions, we should see Samavastita Ishwaram. Here, Ishvara means Purusha, the Atma. Ishvara means not Ekarupa Ishvara or Anekarupa Ishvara, but Arupa Ishvara, free from all attributes. Therefore, only Samam, which is same in everyone. Samavasthitam, which is very much present in and as the very Adhishtanam, which is the support of Prakriti. Because Purusha is Satyam and Prakriti is Mithya, without the support of Purusha, Prakriti cannot exist. Samyak Adhishthanatvena Avasthitam Ishwaram Pashyan. So a wise person in all places and all time should have Samadarshanam, which can be done only through Gnana Chakshu. So Gnanam is very important. What is the benefit from this? Param Gatim Yati. He attains the highest goal of immortality. In the second line, Krishna says that this Gnani does not destroy himself. Therefore, na hinastyatmana atmanam. So according to Krishna, every Agnani, samsari is destroying himself. According to Ishavasya Upanishad, which says everyone is committing suicide. Shankaracharya explains this in two different ways. One, because of self-ignorance, he identifies with the body and becomes a karta, which means doer of action, which produces punyam and papam. According to Vedanta, it is these punya and papa karmas which are responsible for birth and death of the body, punarapi jananam and punarapi maranam. Therefore, I am responsible for creating and destroying myself from the standpoint of the body. So I am Atmana Atmanaha. Atmanaha means killer of myself from the standpoint of body. Shankaracharya gives another meaning also from the standpoint of my higher nature, that is Atma Swarupam nature, which is indestructible. Because of self-ignorance, he is killing his own higher nature. That is, he does not enjoy the benefit of Purnatvam, Abhayatvam, etc. Since he does not derive the benefit of his higher nature, it is as though absent. Shankaracharya says, we have killed or destroyed the higher nature as though. So an Ajnani is destroying or killing himself. Therefore, every Ajnani destroys himself from the standpoint of body and from the standpoint of Atma also. Say every Ajnani is a self-destroyer. Therefore, Krishna says, Gnani does not destroy himself. He is not a self-destroyer. Na hinastatmana atmanam. Therefore, he attains the supreme goal, immortality, Amrita. In short, when a person sees plurality or limitation, finitude and mortality are inevitable. When I see the variety of waves, certainly I see the birth and death of the wave. Mortality is my vision, but when I see the water behind the waves, from the standpoint of water, there is neither birth or death, and therefore Ekatva Darshanam and Samadarshanam leads to Amrita Tattva Prapti, which is the second palam mentioned in this verse. Hari Om, Doctor.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for a very detailed and a complete explanation of this verse. Let us see from the first verse that Vinayakan explained. After studying this chapter of Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Purusha, Prakriti, we understand that all of us are a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. And because of my ignorance that I do not know of the Purusha Tattva in me, I think a limited Prakriti, and therefore I go through the cycle of samsara, which is avidya, kama, karma. The next verse, which was described by Dr. Anupama, spoke about once this understanding is there, once you have discovered the Purusha Tattva, and then you become a nishta in that, you begin to see the whole world as you see yourself. And then you have the universality of vision, that you see divinity everywhere. And the verse goes, Mattaha parataram nanyati kichidanti my sarvam idam protam ukre maniguna. This verse, which which Lakshmi explained very beautifully, which says that once I discover the Atma Tattva in me and I am nishta on this, then there is no Atma Hananam. Can you think of killing that which cannot be killed? This is very nicely described in the Isha Vasya Upanishad. The Atma can never be killed. But if you are ignorant of the Atma Tattva in you, you live a wasteful life. The Atma Tattva in you, you are not able to relish the palam of being Atma. That was so beautifully described. So we go to the next verse, and Dr. Bhaskar, if you can explain verse 30.
Hello, sir. I'm audible, sir.
Very clear. Go ahead.
So coming to verse number 13.30. So verse goes like this. Prakriti evacha karmani kriyamanani sarvasaha ya pasyate tatatmana akartam sa pasyate. So everything is done by Prakriti alone. So ya pasyate is who sees this self as a non-doer. That is tatatmana akartam. Sa pasyate, only he really sees this. So by proper understanding of Purusha and Prakriti from the previous verses, we can really understand Akartvatvam. So Purusha and Prakriti are the cause of universe, which is beginless, so it's Anadi. That's why we say Jagat Pitarao, Vande Parvati Parameshwarao. Not only all the objects are born out of Prakriti, even the properties of the object also. The entire visible and experienceable universe is Prakriti, because everything with the experience undergoes changes from minute atom to biggest galaxy. So experience world, body, mind is Prakriti. Even in the evolution of creation, Prakriti alone played the primary role. The unmanifest Prakriti alone manifests in the form of Kshetra with 24 tattvas. Scientifically, all actions occurs in accordance to physical law only, the matter principle, which is Prakriti. But Prakriti will not provide the higher spiritual needs of the human being, only useful and entertaining in all the transaction in samsara. For Purnatvam, we should be able to withdraw from Prakriti and own up the Purusha Tattvam. With balanced vision of Purusha and Prakriti, not losing the sight of Purusha, in and through all transaction, we should become a Atmanishta. So Purusha pervades and makes this body experienceable to me as a Upadrashta, a close witness. Prakriti is visible to the physical eye, whereas Purusha being Nirguna, Nirvikara, Satya Chetana Tattva, will not be visible to the physical eye. To see the invisible Purusha, one needs Shastra Jnana Chakshu. So discovering the fact that I am Akarta, I am not a doer of any action, we know doership is the cause of all the problems. Because Karta will be externally associated with karma. All the karmas never remains the same. It gradually starts ripening with favorable and unfavorable karma pala. When the karma pala becomes back to me, I have to face the music. I become a bhokta, which is choiceless and helpless situation. And only way to escape is to get out of the kartatvam or to become a akarta. Definitely, we will have akartatvam as long as we have deha abhimana. Because deha means karma will be there. And therefore, prakriti abhimana makes a karta. And the moment we drop prakriti abhimana and claim aham purusha, the purusha owning up alone will take up us out of kartatvam and bhoktatvam. Purusha is incapable of doing any action. All the action by all means, kayakam, vachikam, manasakam, whether dharmikam or adharmikam, are only done by prakriti only. So prakriti means Sharira Trayam, Kosha Panchakam, or in nutshell, Kshetra with 24 tattvas. In simple term, body, sense, mind complex. Therefore, karmani, all the good and bad are done by Prakriti alone because it is subjected to its modification. The meaning of first and second line is understood. So, coming to Ya Pashyate Tatatmanam Hakartaram. Who sees as Akarta? Only a realized master who has realized the Supreme Self by meditation, preparing his mind through karma upasana yoga as a atmanishta, following the teaching of his gurus with shastra jnana chakshu, has attained the state of realization. That realized master does not identify prakriti. He does not say, I am the doer, karta. He says, in my presence, prakriti does everything. That is, I am only a close witness. The explanation is, I am akarta, therefore I do not have sanchita agami, prarabdha, or else. How is it possible to experience and finish off all the karmas in one life? They are all ananta koti janmarjitani karmani. So Swamiji gives a beautiful example. It is like a huge merry-go-round, impossible to put an end to the cyclic arrival and departure of karmas. Only way is to jump out of the cycle and come out of it. On the similar lines, Prakriti with 24 tattvas, kshetras cannot be stopped. One has to transcend Prakriti, like waking up from the dream state. In conclusion, everything is done by Prakriti alone. I am the witness, a close witness, Upadrashta. Only a realized master can say that I am not the doer. Bhagavan says, others sees as a doer due to ignorance. Only the real one sees this, becomes liberated from samsara. So the third palam, Akartatvam Prapti, is attained. Hari Om Sat.
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar, for a rapid fire explanation. You brought in so many things. I really have nothing to say, but I will say in a few words whatever you said. The as Atma, as Purusha, as Kshetrajna, we are all Akarta, Abhokta. Atma cannot do anything. Prakriti by itself being inert cannot do anything. Although this verse says all our actions are done by Prakriti alone, you must remember Prakriti by itself being inert cannot do anything by its own. Then who does all the actions? Prakriti activated by Purusha, a third entity is born. And this is what the mixture of Prakriti and Purusha does everything. Now, I have to understand that I am now a mixture. As a mixture, now do I identify through my Prakriti nature? Then I suffer from, I become a Karta. And the moment I become a Karta, I become a Bhokta. So now we are in the middle. So if we tend towards Prakriti, we suffer. That means any action that I do, I have a certain consequence, punya and papa, and the whole punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam cycle. But if through Brahma Vidya, I move to the other side, to the side of Purusha, then what happens? I still am the mixture, but now I anchor so much in my higher self, in that upper bird of Mundaka, and I see my body mind going through all this. I still do whatever I'm supposed to do, but I don't bring in the sense of I am doing. That doership is not there. And when there is no doership, the bhokta part is also not there. Now, this is very, very subtle. This is what is called inaction and action, which is brought out very nicely in the 4th chapter. And when you understand that there is no karma pala, and when there is no karma pala, that is how you have to get out of this cycle. Now, we will see what happens if you don't do all that. Sukanya, your verse, please.
Hari Om. This chapter deals with 6 topics: Kshetra, Kshetragna, Prakriti, Purusha, and Gnanam, Gneyam. Kshetra and Prakriti are the matter principles. Kshetragna, Purusha, and Gneyam are one and the same, conscious principle which is all-pervading. Gnanam in this context refers to the values that a spiritual seeker needs to attain to be eligible for spiritual wisdom. Lord Krishna declares that understanding this distinction between Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragna is the highest knowledge. Now the question is, what is this Brahman? Why do we need this to acquire this knowledge? And how do you attain it? And what are the benefits? For this, Krishna answers in various verses in the same chapter. In verse 2, Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra kshetragna yonanam yatta gnanam matamama. I am the knower, observer principle in every field. And in verse 12, Gneyam yatra vakshame yagnatva amritam ashnute. Brahman is beginningless, neither a cause nor an effect. Knowing this supreme reality, one transcends plurality and attains non-dual Brahman. Then in verse 16, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. Though Brahman is seemingly divided, remains undivided in beings. He is the sustainer of beings as Vishnu, Kala Purusha, time principles as Shiva, and creator as Brahma. Brahman is beyond the realm of cause and effect, asparsham, ashabdham, arupam, avyayam, srishti sthiti laya karanam, not objectifiable, intangible, invisible, but a witness, a seer principle in every being, a pure existence, consciousness, Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. Now, how do you attain this knowledge? The subclast principle, verses 25 to 27, explains 5 stages of sadhanas: karma, upasana, shravana, manana, nididhyasana. On completion of all these 5 stages, a spiritual seeker owns up aham nityam chaitanya rupam atma asmi. Now, about the phalam of Brahmagnana, Krishna highlights 4 benefits: samyak darshana, balanced vision to recognize the inherent non-duality; amritatva prapti, transcending mortality; akritatva prapti, seeing the self as actionless, and because only Prakriti is responsible; and finally, brahmatva prapti, which is explained in this verse: yada bhutak pratak bhavam ekastap anupashyati tata evacha vistaram brahma sampadire sada. Yada anupashyati bhutak pratak bhavam means one sees diversity of beings ekastham, to be based in oneself, cha vistaram, and their origination, brahma sampadire tada, to be free from self alone, then one becomes Brahman. When one sees the diversity of beings to be based on oneself and their origin also to be from the same self alone, one becomes Brahman. To understand this and assimilate this knowledge, the invisible Brahman, Srishti Karanam, Jagat Adhishtanam, and Laya Karanam, Vedanta illustrates the examples of dream-waker experience and the all-pervading Akasha, space, and the effulgent light Prakasha. Now coming to the dream. While in a dream, I am the creature in my body, dream body, within the dream time and space. I experience all the frightening and pleasant events in the dream as though real. But the moment I wake up, I realize I am the creator of the dream world. This shift from the creature, a product in the dream, to the creator on waking is Gnana. Waking up from one order of reality to another order, from reflected consciousness to original consciousness. I am not only a creator of the dream, a sustainer, and finally, upon waking up, the dream world resolves into my own mind. Swamiji says, just as I create a dream body for transacting in the dream, on waking, I disidentify with the dream body and claim I am the conscious principle. The only difference being, when an Agnani wakes up to his dream world disappears. Whereas when a Gnani wakes up to Atmagnanam, the world does not disappear, but he wakes up to his higher self. He is one with the self. Purusha, Kshetra, Atma are all synonymous with the conscious principle. Bhuta, Krutak Bhavam, Ekastam, Vistaram are the key words in this verse. A wise person sees the existence of the manifold universe located in Brahman, and the plurality of things in universe also emerge from Brahman. Coming to the next illustration of Akasha, which is equated with Atma. It is not only Sthiti Karanam, all things in creation are born in space alone, survive in space, and dissolve into space. Space is not emptiness or nothingness, but a positive substance, even according to science. It is Sarvavyapaka, all-pervading, not only inside the hall, but outside the hall, but in fact, entire beings rest in space. Being all-pervading, it is Achala, Sthiti Karana, Akhanda, Nirvikara, Asanga, imminent and transcendental, not tainted by anything good or bad. Vishwadharam Gagana Sadasham. Akasha is equated with Atma. Atma Gnanam, the conviction that I am Brahmasmi, is the central message of all Upanishads. Kaivalya Upanishads again says, Punas Chanmantara Karma Yoga sa Jiva Eva Swapati Prabuddha. Puratraye Kridati Jivastadattu Sakal Jatam Sakalam Vichitram. The Jivatma, the conscious from the standpoint view of an individual, dreams and wakes up in association with the past karmas and vasanas. All the diversity is born out of that Jivatma alone, which it spores in the three worlds of experience and get resolves into that Jivatma alone. Superficially, the sense organs see the diversity, but spiritual wisdom sees the inherent non-duality. The famous quote in Bhagavad Gita, Mattahara Parataram Nanyat, Kinti Dasti Dhananjaya, Mayi Sarvamidam Protam, Sutre Maniganaiva. The inherent conscious principle in and through all beings, like the beads strung in the invisible thread. In conclusion, everything in creation rests in Brahman, and the diversity in the material principle also rests in Brahman. Hari Om.
Thank you, Sukanya. You have given us the entire chapter itself. My only suggestion is our human mind can get information at a certain rate. You have gone very, very fast because you wanted to give everything. One suggestion I would do is when you see a particular verse, that particular verse we will address in the given amount of time. If time is available, then we can go back to Kaivalya Upanishad, we can go back to other verses. You have said everything that is to be said, beautifully explained, but my only suggestion, it was a little too fast, Sukanya, for future presentation.
Thank you, sir.
We will go to Dr. Kannan for your next verse, please.
Hari Om. Anaditvan nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayah sharirastopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. I should say that Ms. Sukanya has already given a lot of overall picture about the verses that are to follow as well. Again, the primary meaning of these words, Anaditvan, being birthless, Nirgunatvat, attributeless, Paramatma, supreme self, Avyaya, changeless, never changing, Sharira Sto, being associated or dwelling in the body, although dwelling in the body. Hey Kaunteya, son of Kunti, na karoti, no action, na lipyate, nor is affected. I've always wondered about this dream the dreamer and the awake state, which has been explained so very well in many of our analogies. But let us all remember that the analogy cannot be the original. And that's what Swami Paramji very nicely puts forth. When we wake up from the dream no longer exists. So it is very obvious that we assume or we know, and we don't get attached to the dream. We know that whatever happened in the dream, maybe it is an unpleasant dream, we had to run away from something unpleasant scenario, whatever it is in the dream, we know that it was a dream. We pinch ourselves. We make sure when we wake up in the morning, we are not affected by the dream. The reason why we are so easily, everybody has dream every night, but we are so much unaffected. The next day begins and we are up and back to our transactional world very easily. We don't get affected by the dream at all. But when we use the analogy, that's so easy. But when the real self-knowledge or inward knowledge starts, that's when the problem is. Because in the real world, the dream world does not disappear. It continues to go on. Whatever we are doing right now is the dream world. And to act as though the dream world is not going to affect us is something enormous, requires enormous amount of practice as well as the right guidance. So Jnani continues to live in this world, continues to live in the body as well. So he is living in the body, Shariratvam. He also has the connection with the world, but he has the knowledge that the body is like a dream and he is like the waker. Whatever happens in the dream does not make any difference for the Jnani or the waker. Therefore, Krishna says, Ayam Paramatma Avyayaha. The Atma, higher nature of consciousness, Avyayaha, is not subject to any change. Nirguna, nirvikara. Just as the waker is not affected by anything that happens in the dream, the Jnani is also not affected. Atma does not have any changes. It is birthless. It is attributeless. And if something does not have an attribute, where is the question of change? Asks Swami Param. And I think that's a very fundamental point. If you don't have an attribute, what can be changed? I mean, you can change from one color to the other. You can change your character from one thing. But if there is nothing to change, what are the change that we are looking for? Nirgunam, absolutely changeless. Atma is associated with everything, but not affected by anything. This is the immanence and the transcendence principles. Immanence means associated with everything. Transcendence means not affected by anything. The classic example is the movie screen. We have a beautiful movie being played. So many things happen in the movie. The screen stays the same, does not change. The movie has the end. The screen continues to go on. There is no birth. There is no end for the screen, whereas things keep happening on the screen all the time. Similarly, the transactional world keeps happening. The real self is within and does not change. This pervasion is called imminence, but remaining untainted is transcendence. So, na karoti na lipyate. Atma remains a karta, free from. So, the classic action-reaction principle, there is no action, there is no reaction, continues to also be abhokta without the phalam. Shariram, Manam has action and results, but Atma does not have karma, no action, no results, no phalam also. Then what is the benefit? Why are we doing this inward reflection when there is no phalam? The Krishna summarizes by saying, Samadarshanam, freedom from attachment and aversion, Amrita Prapti, immortality, Akartatva, Abhoktatva Prapti, neither a karta nor a bhokta, Brahmatvam, Aham Brahmasmi, iti Brahmatva Prapti. Thank you, Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Kannan, for a nice explanation of another important verse. You brought about the experience of dream and trying to understand Vedanta through that. I will use that again to say 100 times the same thing. Again, when this weekend on Sunday, when we are studying Kaivalya, we will be dealing about the same thing. When we are fast asleep, our mind is not working. When the mind is not working, we do not experience any form of limitations. And when there is no limitations on us, we experience Ananda, a form of ignorance, but Sukha Swarupa. I experience Ananda because there are no limits. The moment we wake up, what happens the first time, because the mind becomes operational, the Parabrahma, Paramatma, the Sakshi principle now works through my instruments of my body mind, and I experience a limited experiencer. That term is called Pramata. That awareness that I see through my body mind becomes a pramata, and a pramata is always limited. Another Sanskrit word for pramata is parichinna. Parichinna means I have become small. Nobody wants to become small. And because you don't want to be small, you want to be Purna, then you do what? Because I do not know I'm Purna, because of this Maya which has functioned through my mind, and I have become a limited experiencer, a pramata or parichinna. I go through the cycle of avidya, kama, karma, and I do a karta, then I become a bhokta. All these verses are saying, become the Dakshina Murti. Put your right foot down when you wake up and tell yourself, although my mind is working, although I see limited experiences, just like I see the sunset and sunrise, the reality is what this verse says: I am birthless, I am attributeless. Play the drama of a Dakshina Murti in a limited world. And that is what is saying, although 100 things you do, you are still a karta. Although you experience very things, you are a bhokta, in the sense that you know that your body mind is going through all that, but it is not affecting you. This is how a jnani lives, as if he is aware of the dream. He has woken up from the dream, and the dream is happening to his body mind, but he is the sakshi, absolutely unaffected by whatever that happens. That is what this verse says. Nicely explained, Dr. Kannan. We'll go to Venkatesh Prasad. You have a last minute taken on a verse by Dr. Vikram. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad akasham nopalipyate sarvatra avasthito dehe tathatmanopalipyate. Just as all pervading space is not affected due to its structurality, so also the self, which is present in every body, is not affected. Dr. Kannan has beautifully brought out what Krishna has said in the previous shloka about Atma, which is associated with everything but not affected by anything. To assimilate these 2 points called imminence and transcendence, Krishna borrows 2 examples from Upanishads. One is Akasha and the other one is Prakasha. Akasha means space. Space does not mean emptiness or nothingness, but is subtlest form of matter. Space and Atma have several features in common. Ekatvam, both are only one. Atma ekaha, Akasha ekaha. Achalatvam, being all pervading, both Akasha and Atma cannot move from one place to other. Your body can move, not you. Nirvikaratvam, Akasha never undergoes change. It never gets younger or older, never changes shape. This is Nirvikaratva. Atma is also Nirvikara and hence never undergoes any change. Akhandatvam, Akasha and Atma both are partless, both are indivisible. Sarva Vyapakatvam, both Akasha and Atma are all pervading. Asangatvam, Krishna treats this as the main commonality between the both. Both Atma and Akasha are Asangatma. Akasha is associated with everything but is not polluted, is not tainted by either good or bad qualities. It never becomes turbid. It doesn't become fragrant. It doesn't become foul-smelling. So is Atma. This is Asangatva. Sarvadhara. Akasha is Sarvadhara. The whole cosmos is accommodated by Akasha. So it is Vishwadhara. Bhagavan is also Vishwadhara. Recollect the shloka. Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham Vishwadharam gaganasadrusham. See, the next word after Vishwadharam is Gaganasadrusham. Gagana is Akasha And so Atma, self-consciousness, is like Akasha. Sukshmatvam. Akasha cannot be comprehended easily. Our scientists once thought it is emptiness and then thought it is ether, but still searching for a right answer. Space cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it cannot be touched, but can be concealed, and so is Atma. Reason is subtlety or Sukshmatva. The shloka we are studying uses two of the above comparisons. Sarvagatam akasham na upalipyate. All-pervading space is not affected by anything. Because of what? Saukshmyat. Because of extremely subtle nature, fine nature, minute nature. It is not affected by anything. Tatha. In the same way, Atmana upalipyate. Atma is also not tainted or polluted by anything. Sarvatra dehe avasthita, even though it is associated with every body. Body may be fat, Atma is not fat. Body may be slim, Atma is not. Mind may have raga dvesha, kama krodha, but Atma does not have any of these qualities. Let me conclude with a stanza from Nirvana Shataka of Adiguru Sri Shankaracharya, which defines the nature of Atma as explained above. न मे द्वेष रागो न मे लोभ मोहो मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्य भावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानंद रूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानंद रूपः Shivoham, Shivoham. Thank you.
Thank you, Venkatesh, for a very nice explanation, a very beautiful explanation indeed. Whatever you said, it looks so unbelievable, but the beauty is it is true. Let us anchor on the truth, although it looks so unbelievable, but my real nature is like Akasha. And what is the two important things, English word that you need to understand is immanent and transcendental. Immanent means space is in and through. Space is both outside me, space is both inside me. And if you look at an individual atom also, you have the protons, neutrons, and electrons, but the most 99% of an atom is also space. So space is like that, all pervading in and through, but the space is never affected by anything. And that is what we have to understand. As you very nicely sang the Nirvana Shatakam, there is another nice work by Adi Shankara which goes like this: Asangoham, Asangoham, Asangoham Puna Punaha, Satchidananda Rupoham, Ahameva Avyayam. Going on and on. See, these things like a Shruti, let it enter into our head. Nothing can affect me because I am of the nature of Akasha. And in the next verse, you will see, I am of the nature of Prakasha. That will be the last verse for today. Bhaskar, please.
Guru Namaha. The verse goes like this. Yata prakashayat ekaha krutsam lokamimam ravihi kshetram kshetri tata krustam prakashayat bharata. The verbatim goes like this. Yata, just as, prakashayat, illumine, ekaha, one, krustam, entire, lokam, the solar system, imam, this, ravihi, sun, kshetram, the body, kshetri, the soul, tata, so, krutsam, entire, prakashayat, illumine, bharata, Arjuna, son of Bharata. The literal meaning is, just as the sun illumines the entire solar system, so does the individual soul illumining the entire body with consciousness. With the focal point as sun, Swami Param has explicitly narrated, like a white light sent through a prism and then a spectrum of vibrant Vibgaya dispersing out of it. Swami Param begins by throwing light on sunlight, by saying the formless light which pervades the entire earth during daytime is compared to the Atma. Several common references or virtues are envisaged of sunlight. Just as the previous verse here, Akasha, here it's sunlight. Its sunlight again is compared to the Ekatvam virtue. Sunlight is only one. The Sarvagatam, sunlight pervades the entire earth relatively. Achalatvam, sunlight does not move because it is already everywhere. Nirvikartvam, sunlight does not undergo any change at all. When I move the hand, light is not moving or changing. Asangatvam, light does not get polluted even when it falls on the hand, or it does not get dirty. This is one of the common and repeated example given by Dr. Hegde. Akandatvam, light is partless and it cannot be cut. In totality, light illumines everything. Likewise, Atma also illumines, and because of consciousness alone, things are illumined. Here, there is no subject-object relationship. Subject comes only when consciousness comes, and therefore consciousness is the illuminator of everything, like in the case of sun. Sri Krishna says here, Ekaha Ravi, one sun or sunlight, imam krustam lok prakashayati. Sun shines entire without getting polluted or by that. Similarly, samakshvattam or sukshmatvam, light cannot be touched by anyone, nor can you smell, taste, or see without a reflecting medium. Light by itself is incomprehensible. Hence, light is sukshmam. Similarly, Atma cannot be touched, smelled, seen. Hence, you cannot infer that Atma is not existing at all. The previous sloka compares Atma to Akasha. This sloka compares Atma to Prakasha. Therefore, what is the knowledge I gain from this sloka? I am Akasha and Prakasha. This certainly is an aid to meditation. This is the greatest goal one can achieve, the moksha, through viveka, by consistent reflection and meditation. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bhaskar. So appropriately, you are Bhaskar, you are also the sun. You got to explain this 13th chapter, which talks about
coincidence.
It concludes with giving the description of Kshetrajnam as the sun, just like we have the Gayatri mantra, which says Atsavitur Varenyam Bhargaha Devasya Diyoryona Prachodayat. Let us always meditate on my consciousness as like the sun, which is unaffected, asangaha, which illumines everything but remains unaffected. With this, we have come to the end of the very, very beautiful 13th chapter. The 13th chapter, always as Swami Paramarthananda ji said, the most difficult chapter. Our vision is to study verse by verse before the Gita Jayanti in December 25th. We may finish a little ahead of time, and I would like this chapter to be studied once again. If we have time, we will study this chapter once again, because every verse is so loaded, so meaningful. As you will see after the second chapter and some stray verses elsewhere, you will never find another chapter which is so loaded with every verse with so much of depth and meaning. So sometimes we feel that we need to revise this chapter once again. With these thoughts, I will conclude today's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhak Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.